You are thinking yourself into poverty right now. Not tomorrow, not eventually, right now. Every hour you spend without a clear financial target, you are programming your mind to stay exactly where you are. And the worst part? You already know something is off. You feel it in your chest every time you check your bank account, every time you calculate what you should have saved by now versus what you actually have. A man figured this out over 70 years ago. He grew up broke during the Great Depression, survived one of the deadliest attacks in American history, and retired financially independent at 35 years old. His name was Earl Nightingale, and his formula for building wealth was so powerful that it became the first spoken word recording to ever sell over 1 million copies. This is not a lecture, this is a mirror, because Nightingale's formula does not require a trust fund, a degree from an elite university, or a lucky break. It requires one thing you already have, but are almost certainly using wrong. And every single day you ignore what you are about to hear is another day you hand your financial future to chance. So pay attention, because the next few minutes could fundamentally change how you build wealth for the rest of your life. Earl Nightingale's formula for becoming rich comes down to one core principle. You become what you think about most of the time. When you direct your thoughts deliberately toward a specific financial goal and hold that goal in your mind with total clarity, your actions, decisions, and daily habits begin to align with that target automatically. That is the formula. 6 words that separated him from 95% of the population. And it will do the same for you if you understand how to apply it. And if that sounds too simple to actually work, that is exactly why it works. But to understand how, you need to know where this came from, because context changes everything. Earl Nightingale was born in 1921 in Los Angeles. His family had nothing. His father abandoned them when Earl was 12 years old. They were so poor that they lived in a literal tent city on the waterfront in Long Beach, California during the Great Depression. No running water, no real address, just survival. And here is where it gets intense. At 17, Earl lied about his age and enlisted in the United States Marines. He was stationed in Hawaii, and on December 7, 1941, he was on board the USS Arizona at Pearl Harbor when the Japanese attacked. 1,177 men died on that ship that morning. Earl Nightingale was one of only a handful of Marines who walked away alive. Let that sit for a second. A 20-year-old kid from a tent city is standing on the deck of a battleship when the sky tears open. Explosions so loud, they rupture eardrums. Smoke so thick, he cannot see 3 feet in front of him. And everywhere around him, men are dying. 1,177 of them gone before breakfast. He should have been one of them. He was not. And instead of spending the rest of his life paralyzed by that morning, Nightingale made a decision that most people never make. He decided the rest of his life would mean something. He became obsessed with one question: why do some people build extraordinary lives while most people just survive? So what did he discover? What was the answer that made him financially independent before most people even hit their stride? Before we get into the discovery that changed everything, this is exactly the kind of thinking that the VYBO Wealth Blueprint was built around. It is a complete system for setting clear financial targets, building the daily habits that compound, and eliminating the mental patterns that keep most people stuck. If what you are hearing resonates, the blueprint gives you the framework to put it into practice. Link is in the description. Now here is the pattern Nightingale spent 20 years uncovering. He studied success obsessively after Pearl Harbor. He read everything: philosophy, psychology, religion, economics, and he kept coming back to the same disturbing truth. Take 100 people at the age of 25. All of them believe they are going to be successful. Every single one. Fast forward 40 years. By 65, 1 will be wealthy, 4 will be comfortable, 5 will still be working because they have no choice, and the other 90, broke, dependent, or dead. That is not a statistic. That is a room full of people you know, your coworkers, your neighbors, people from your graduating class. 90 out of every 100 end up with nothing to show for 4 decades of work. And the terrifying part is that every one of those 90 people thought they would be the exception. The Federal Reserve's 2024 report confirmed this is still true today. Only 35% of working-age adults feel their retirement savings are on track. Less than half of American adults could cover a $2,000 emergency with savings alone. Think about what that means. One broken transmission, one medical bill, 1 month of missed paychecks. And the majority of people in the wealthiest country ever built are underwater. So I need you to answer this honestly, not out loud, just to yourself. Which group are you tracking toward right now? Not which group you hope to end up in, not which group you tell yourself you belong in. Which one does your bank account say you are in today? Because Nightingale said the clue was staring everyone in the face. The 95% who fail do not have a single clear financial goal. They go to work because everyone else goes to work. They drift. And drifting does not lead to average. It leads to broke. Now here is the part that changes everything. After 2 decades of reading, studying, and obsessing, Nightingale found his answer in one line from Napoleon Hill. 6 words. That is all. 6 words that explain why he survived Pearl Harbor and built a fortune while most people who had every advantage he lacked ended up with nothing. We become what we think about. Read that again in your mind. We become what we think about. Nightingale called it the strangest secret because every major thinker in history has said it, from Marcus Aurelius to William James, and yet almost nobody lives by it. His insight was razor sharp. A person who holds a concrete financial goal in their mind with total clarity will reach it, not because of magic, because the mind has no choice but to find ways to make it real. Your thoughts do not just influence your actions, they dictate them. Every decision you made today, every dollar you spent, every opportunity you ignored, all of it was shaped by whatever dominated your thinking this morning. The mind is that precise. And right now, yours is either building your wealth or quietly dismantling it. So let me ask you directly, right now, today, what is the specific dollar amount you are working toward? Not a vague wish, not more money, an exact number with an exact deadline. If you cannot answer that question in under 3 seconds, you are part of the 95%, and that should shake you. But here is the good news. Everything from this point forward is the application. The theory is done. Now we talk about what to actually do with it. Nightingale explained this with an analogy that should make you uncomfortable. Picture 2 ships leaving the same harbor on the same morning. The first has a captain, a crew, a chart, and one specific destination locked in. That ship will arrive where it is supposed to, roughly 95% of the time. The only things that stop it are catastrophic. Now picture the second ship. Same size, same engine, same fuel, but no captain, no crew, no destination. It drifts out of the harbor and goes wherever the current pushes it. Where does it end up? On the rocks. Every single time. No exceptions. Now stop thinking about ships and think about last Monday morning. You woke up, you went to work, you came home. You did it again on Tuesday and Wednesday and every day this month. Here is the question that separates everything. Were you steering toward a specific financial destination that day? Or were you just drifting because that is what the current demanded? Because there is no third option. You are either the ship with the destination or the ship on the rocks. And most people go years without ever realizing they never set a course. The moment you set one, everything changes. You start noticing opportunities you walked past. You start saying no to things that do not serve the goal. You start making different decisions. Nightingale said the mind works like a fertile field. It does not care what you plant. Plant a goal, it grows. Plant nothing, weeds take over. And weeds always win. Now let us go deeper, because knowing the secret is only half of it. Nightingale did not just say, think positive and hope for the best. He laid out a specific formula with concrete steps. And this next part is where most people who study his work miss the real power. Nightingale broke his wealth formula into clear, non-negotiable actions. And the first one surprises most people. Step 1, save 10% of everything you earn. Before taxes, before bills, before anything. Nightingale was relentless about this, not because 10% makes you rich overnight, but because it rewires your identity. The moment you pay yourself first, you stop being someone who spends everything and starts being someone who builds. That shift in identity changes every financial decision you make after it. Step 2 is the one that will make you question everything you have been doing. Nightingale said, stop thinking about the money completely. Stop chasing it. Stop calculating it. Stop obsessing over it. Instead, focus entirely on increasing the value you provide to other people. He put it bluntly, your income is in direct proportion to the quality and quantity of service you give. No man can get rich unless he enriches others first. Let that sink in. The man who became financially free at 35 is telling you the secret was to stop thinking about money. Every person chasing a raise, a promotion, a side hustle, then on a better deal, they are all thinking about what they can get. Nightingale said, flip it completely. Think about what you can give, because the giving is what creates the getting, not the other way around. That is not just counterintuitive. It is the opposite of what every instinct in your body is telling you right now. He compared it to a wood stove. You cannot sit in front of a cold stove and demand heat. You have to put the fuel in first. You have to provide value first. You have to solve problems, create results, deliver excellence first. Then the money follows. It has to, because that is the law of mutual exchange. He was not being philosophical. He was being precise. If this way of thinking clicks for you, consider joining the VYBO channel membership. You get early access to every video, exclusive content on wealth psychology, and a community of people who think like operators, not spectators. The join button is right below this video. Now here is where most people lose momentum, because the next two steps are the ones that require something beyond knowledge. They require character. Step 3. Use your imagination deliberately. Nightingale was obsessed with this. He said most people use their imagination to worry. They picture worst-case scenarios. They rehearse failure in their minds 100 times before it even happens. And then they are shocked when it actually shows up. Nightingale said, flip that. Use the same mental machinery to picture your goal as already accomplished. See yourself living in the house you want, running the business you want, holding the bank statement you want. Not as fantasy, as rehearsal, because your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined event and a real one. It responds to both the same way. But here is the question that separates people who listen to this from people who actually change. Do you have the courage to follow through? Step 4. Courage. Nightingale said this is where 95% of people quit. They hear the formula. They agree with it. They feel inspired for an hour. And then they go back to the same thinking, the same habits, the same drift. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to hold your goal in your mind every single day, even when the results are not visible yet. Even when your bank account has not moved. Even when people around you think you are wasting your time. That is a courage, and it is the price of entry. Nightingale designed a 30-day test to prove this works. For 30 consecutive days, you write your goal on a card and then carry it with you everywhere. Every morning you read it. Every night you read it. And every time doubt creeps in during the day, you pull out that card and read it again. You replace every negative thought with your goal. If you miss a day, you start over from day one. No exceptions. He said if you do this honestly for 30 days straight, your circumstances will begin to change. Not because of magic, because your thinking changes. And when your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your decisions change, your actions change. And when your actions change consistently over 30 days, your results have no choice but to follow. Here is the brutal truth. Nightingale never sugarcoated. Most people listening to this will do absolutely nothing. They will nod. They will agree. They might even feel a spark of something real right now. And tomorrow morning they will wake up, check their phone, go through the same routine, think the same unfocused thoughts they thought yesterday, and wonder why nothing in their life is different. Fast forward 1 year from today. Same job, same bank account, same quiet frustration that something is wrong, but you cannot name it. That is what happens when you hear a formula that works and refuse to use it. But you do not have to live that year. That's the entire point of everything Nightingale spent his life teaching. A kid from a tent city in Long Beach, California, with no father, no money, and no advantages, stood in the wreckage of Pearl Harbor and decided his life would be different. Not someday. That day, he became financially independent by 35. Not through luck, through directed thought backed by relentless action. And every piece of that formula is now sitting in your hands. So here is what Earl Nightingale left you. Your thoughts create your financial reality. Set one clear wealth goal and hold it daily. Save 10% before anything else. Increase your service before you expect your income to increase. Use imagination to rehearse success, not fear. And have the courage to stay the course for 30 days without breaking. That is the formula. It worked for a kid from a tent city. It works now. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of wealth, the next video breaks down why most people sabotage their own success without realizing it.